What's up, everybody? It's the Variety Film Brothers. I'm Andrew.
I'm Thomas.
All right, welcome to Variety Discussion. Today we're going to be talking about Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope. So we're finally out of the prequels and onto the original trilogy, for better or for worse, depending on the fan. So what did you think?
I thought it was really... it wasn't really good. Like, the story wasn't there.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought most of the shots were good.
I think this one is really easy to understand and simple.
No politics.
I mean, like, not really. Like, there's a little bit, but it doesn't really get into it too much. So I think it does a better job at that. I still love this one, though. This one's in my top 3.
Really?
Actually. Mm-hmm. But we'll get more into the rankings after Rise of Skywalker. Something I definitely noticed right out of the gate with this movie is that it has better sets and better cinematography than the prequels do.
Mm-hmm.
Like, with this movie, I really felt like a lot more of it was actually real and, like, something that could be, like, right in front of me. Whereas the prequels, like, even if I think some of the designs are better, it feels kind of artificial and not really, like, something I could actually be looking at. And it just creates a different experience for me.
How did C-3PO and R2 dodge all those shots whenever they were walking?
That is a good question.
Yeah.
They walk at a solid maybe like 2 miles an hour.
I would like to know how.
And they just walk straight into solid blaster fire and somehow make it out just fine.
The Force. They had the Force.
I love how mean C-3PO is in this movie. Like, he's an ass. And in the prequels, he's just not really much of anything. Mm-hmm. He doesn't really emote much at all. Like, a lot of the jokes around him are kind of just like, oh, I'm a robot.
Yeah. Speaking of C-3PO, I like the joke whenever C-3PO thought he killed them whenever they were screaming for, like, victory. Whenever they stopped, it was like, oh, dang it, I killed them.
Yeah, that was really funny. But something I do think this movie kind of does that I don't like is it spends a little bit too much time with C-3PO and R2-D2 at the beginning.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, like, obviously they're, really big Star Wars characters. They're really important. Mm-hmm. But they have to carry, like, the first, 30 minutes of the movie after the ship gets blown up. Mm-hmm. Or not blown up, but after it gets boarded. And they have to escape. And, I don't know, like, there were a lot of really good shots in that scene we talked about. It all looks really good. But I think that's kind of where the movie drags for me.
I think if they started that approach with the first episode, like introducing the side characters first and then going into the main characters would have been better. And then just to not do that.
It kind of like hopscotches between like main characters and side characters and then main characters again, because we start with like Darth Vader and Leia, and then we have to spend a long time with R2-D2 and C-3PO. And I mean, like I said, I like them. Like I love how mean C-3PO is, and R2. They're really good at like having him express feelings without actually saying any words. Or we get introduced to Luke, and it's a simple story overall, like we said earlier, but it definitely takes like some detours to like get where it needs to go. Another important character that we see right after Luke is Obi-Wan, obviously, who introduces himself with the iconic "Hello there." I guess it's not the most iconic of the "Hello there's," but it's Obi-Wan saying hello there, so obviously it's it's going to be memed a little bit. Weird, like when I think of Obi-Wan now, I don't think of Alec Guinness. He's the guy that plays Obi-Wan in the original trilogy. The first thing I think of is Ewan McGregor.
Yeah.
And they look similar enough, but I mean, Alec Guinness is British, whereas Ewan McGregor is, like, the original Obi-Wan, like, is pretty much just British. And then, like, the Obi-Wan of the prequels is, like, Scottish-Irish trying to sound British. So he has that, like, unique voice that I thought was actually kind of funny, because there was an interview with Ewan McGregor recently, and he said it was hard to get that voice down again. And I was like, I thought he was just, like, trying his best to do a kind of British accent, but I guess there was more to it than that. And then after meeting Obi-Wan, then we see Han Solo and Chewbacca for the first time. And I'm going to say something that's, like, probably going to get me, like, super executed in the comments. I think Han Solo is kind of overrated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of.
See, a lot of, like, I like Han Solo, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying, like, Han Solo's on the screen and I'm just like, ugh, this guy.
Ugh.
No, he's just not a top 5 for me. He definitely has a lot of personality to him. And I think that's probably what the main draw is. But, like, definitely in this movie, he doesn't really get to do very many things that are very cool.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
What does he do that's
First thing that comes to mind is when he like runs toward all the stormtroopers.
That was funny.
And like a freaking idiot.
That was
and
funny.
then runs into the room with a bunch of them and turns around. Like obviously the special edition changes. I told you about some of those, where they put in a lot of CGI shots.
Mm-hmm.
I think some of them are actually okay, but when they put all of these like CGI characters and stuff in like the cantina and just the area around it, it feels really jarring to me. Like like when they were pulling up in the land speeder to talk to the stormtroopers,
and like the big giant
this big thing just shows its giant ass just to everybody. Like that's the one I really wish they would have taken out.
I think that could have been taken out of.
See, because I love stormtroopers. Like I love stormtroopers. Like I should have had this out in the beginning, just out here. Yeah, that's good. That looks real nice. So yeah, any second where stormtroopers are being covered up, I'm not happy about it.
Yeah.
But obviously, like the really big objectively bad decision for the CGI or for any of the special edition changes for this movie is the Han shooting Greedo scene. Like, because you told me how weird that scene looked to you. Like something really didn't feel right.
Like the first thing that I remember watching that scene was for the first time, and I thought that Han Solo just shot him and he fell. I thought that was it.
Yeah, that's pretty much all there was originally to it. So I guess I showed you the original scene like on YouTube or something, because you can still find it out there, of course. But they try to make it like super complicated, and like I told you, they went through all these different drafts where they're like, oh no, Greedo shot first this time.
Yeah.
Oh no, Han shot first this time. And then they finally settled it on them shooting pretty much at the exact same time. And then Han, like, breaking his neck, doing this weird, like, dance move almost. And it really doesn't look good.
All I saw was that, what is his name? Greedo?
Mm-hmm.
It looks like he just shot over his head.
Yeah, like, Greedo's got some bad aim. If it's, like, because he had his full, like, the gun just fully aimed, like, not too far apart from us now. And he just had the gun right at his face.
Oh, wait, hold on.
And yeah, somehow shot like completely off target. And I think I told you it was really all because George just didn't want Han to be too like dark, like too like evil or whatever.
I think he could have shot there. There was a gun in his face, so I think that was reasonable for him to shoot first. Since he clearly had the gun out before.
Right. Oh yeah. So a scene that we kind of skipped over was when Luke ignites Anakin's lightsaber for the first time. A super iconic scene, just the first time the world got to see lightsabers. And I think it's really cool getting to see like the original execution of it and the original explanation of it, I guess, because like obviously we know what a lightsaber is, but like if you tried to explain it to somebody who didn't know, I'd say showing them that scene is really the best you can get to really explaining what it is. But I think we both had down here, they definitely had a lot of trouble, getting the lightsaber effects to actually work. There's times where it kind of like cuts out in spots, and obviously they kind of skip over the blade actually igniting and closing back in. They have all the sounds. The sounds all sound really good. But you can tell they hadn't quite polished everything out yet.
Yeah, because whenever Luke first ignites the lightsaber, it looks really good. It's tracked really well. But whenever Luke ignites it and fights not fights, but he practices with the droid, it like moves without the hilt, and without the saber.
I think one of my favorite things about rewatching this movie, because I haven't seen it in a while, was really seeing like this is like old, original Star Wars. Like a lot of stuff is different looking here. Like it's the same thing technically, obviously, like the lightsabers are all technically the same thing. Hyperspeed, same thing, but like I think that was one of the biggest changes. Like I'm surprised that George Lucas didn't edit that scene to make it look like a more modern hyperspace.
I just remember seeing the hyperspace looking like dark with like light blue or like dark light blue clouds going through it for like half a second.
Yeah, it's a really weird effect. Like it looks good, but it's really something like different. But like you have for your next point, there are a lot of like really old filming methods used for this movie, or a lot of really old special effects methods. One being paintings, and we've talked several times about just how awesome the paintings are.
We realize how talented a lot of people are, and it really makes me sad.
They took all the talent, and I want some.
Yeah.
I deserve my rightful.
Can I have at least 5%?
Talent? Yeah, for real. And that's something I really wish they would have stuck with in the original, or not the original. I really wish they would have stuck with paintings in the prequel trilogy, because I really like a lot of the designs of the prequel trilogy. A lot of the ships I do think look good. A lot of the environments I do think look good, but like I really think paintings would have had a more consistent feel with the originals, because like I get why so many people have complaints about the prequels aesthetically, because they look so different than the original trilogy.
Yeah.
You know, they heard that 3 more movies were coming out, 3 more Star Wars movies, and the only ones that had been released before were, in the late 70s, early 80s. So I think people just had this idea that they were going to look like they were made in the 70s and 80s. And, I mean, they could have done that if they really wanted to, and maybe that would have looked better. I really don't know, but either way, it's really good, or really interesting from like a historical film perspective, just seeing how different things are executed. Like for the opening shot, the first shot of the movie, which I think is a really good shot. I think it conveys really quickly, the small ship are the good guys, big ship are the bad guys. So it shows how the good guys are at a severe disadvantage.
Once again, the rebels are not taking any advantage with their ships.
No, the rebels are extremely
poor,
and really, I don't think a lot of them are really all that, I don't want to say smart, but they're not really well equipped for battle. But like I was saying, the explosions or the shots from the Star Destroyer at the rebel ship, they actually give me headaches.
They didn't really give me headaches that much. It's just like I don't like how it's like a flashbang.
Right, like it's like 1 second you can clearly see what you're looking at, and then it's like it goes white for a frame or two. Some parts of this movie we see pretty simple laser effects. You know what I mean? Like it's a simple laser going from one place to another, and I think that's really all that shot needed.
Or like if any blasters did connect, it would create like little sparks or something like that, or like at least a tiny explosion, not like a whole flashbang. Or like was that just like the shots being fired?
I don't even really know for sure, to be honest with you. Yeah, one of my favorite parts of this movie, really probably even the whole saga, is just when that stormtrooper bumps his head on the door. It's just so funny, and I love that they decided to go with the joke and add an audio effect to it.
Grunt,
like a doop, yeah, he's an idiot.
How do you feel about the guy who fell over?
Yeah,
and just stayed there.
Yeah, he just at first. See, I'm pretty sure he got hit, but he might have just fallen over. He might have just fallen over and then be like, "All right, guys, I'm done for the day. I can't do this anymore."
I don't get paid enough for this.
But like every shot, every set in the Death Star, I think just looks really amazing. Like it looks really real, and in some parts, like especially the part that's actually a prison, really looks like a prison to me. Like you really feel like you're in this depressing jail almost. There's weapons everywhere, soldiers everywhere. Nobody's having a good time in this place.
Nope.
So I think the Death Star is almost a scary place. We also get our first lightsaber duel ever in Star Wars on the Death Star, and it's
not very good.
It's certainly aged. No, it's not like a fight where you look at it and you think, oh, they really went lazy with this one.
Yeah.
Because I think they really did the best that they could, because first off, think about the two actors that are participating in this duel. The guy in the Darth Vader suit wasn't very old, but he wasn't really a stunt guy. He was a bodybuilder. I bet he knew nothing at all probably about like sword fighting or choreography on more than a basic level. And then you've got Alec Guinness, who, like you said, at this point is very old. This is the first lightsaber duel ever. They haven't realized the full potential of it yet. And so I've heard that this is the most technically accurate sword fight, either this one or the one at the end of the next movie between Luke and Darth Vader. And I think that really goes to show that making a lightsaber fight more realistic isn't the answer.
Yeah.
And we just kind of have to watch, Vader do some very basic hand movements while Alec Guinness spins around, and
This one was not very good, but I'll allow it because
exactly like
it wasn't meant to be good. Like,
I mean, I think it was. I wouldn't say it wasn't meant to be good, but it was definitely never meant to be the best lightsaber duel.
Yeah.
I think this was kind of like the rough draft
mhm.
of lightsaber duels. Like you got to get through it. So you know, like you said, you kind of give it a pass, but it's certainly like I wouldn't want to like sit down and really like break it down or anything like that. It's just like too elementary. It being as new and unique as it was at the time, I think that was honestly about the best they could do with it. They do have that line about, you know, how Wookiees, you know, rip people's arms off. And so I wish we got to see more violence from Chewbacca.
Yeah, imagine
in this movie.
Chewbacca just grabbing someone and then just tearing them apart.
That'd be pretty crazy.
Disney would not allow that, but
No, they would not. But it's fun to imagine, I guess.
Yeah.
But we really don't get any more action until the attack on the Death Star, and this is one of the most like iconic, third acts in all of film. And I think it's really good, especially for the time. Like they had to invent technology to make this work. You know, they didn't like just go into like their computer programs and like plug this into this and you know add this effect. Like they had to really like build equipment from scratch to get all that to work. So what do you think? Do you think all their hard work paid off?
I think it paid off.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it did.
Because you said there were some shots that really didn't look very visually like satisfying to you.
I mean, there were some of them, but I mean, it didn't like take me away from the movie.
I think this is like the only Star Wars movie to only be focusing on one thing at the very end, and I think that's kind of something that doesn't make it quite as tense as it could be. Like Phantom Menace goes too far into it. Phantom Menace has the duel with Obi-Wan, Qui-Gon Jinn, and Darth Maul, and the space battle where Anakin is, you know, and the fight with the Gungans and the droids. And so you're cutting between 3 different fights, 2 of which in that movie aren't really very good. Like the Gungans and droids battle is the worst battle of like the whole saga to me. And then you've got Anakin, you know, blowing stuff up, which is fine. But, you know, there's really only a third of that, like, third act that you actually want to see. And in this movie, I think it would maybe have benefited from, like, maybe having something else to do. Like, I do think if maybe Obi-Wan and Vader were having that duel while the attack was going on just outside, I do think that might have given it more tension, but I don't know, you'd have to obviously do some dramatic restructuring of that movie to make that work. Like I say that, but I don't want my Star Wars movies to be like too formulaic. Like I don't want them to be the same every time. Like I don't want to be like, oh, you have to have, you know, 2 different things you're cutting between for the final battle. But I think it really just works, you know, to have one battle that's more personal and then one battle that's like out in space, you know, and a bunch of crazy things are happening. But I guess the only problem, I guess really you couldn't have Darth Vader in the Death Star while they're doing the attack because, you know, they blow it up and you can't have Darth Vader die here.
Yeah.
That wouldn't really work for the story.
That would
but
ruin a lot of movies.
Oh yes.
Like 2.
Yes it would. So usually we do this at the beginning of the video, but we kind of kept getting off track. So what would you give this one out of 100?
Out of 100. I think this is a 72.
72?
I think it's a 72.
I don't think that's a bad score. I think I'd put mine, like I said, this is my 3rd favorite Star Wars movie. And I think... No, I think I have to give this one an 89, just like Revenge of the Sith. So yeah, you rated Attack of the Clones with an 84. And so, like, I'm totally fine with that. I think if that's how you feel, that's how you feel. And I love Episode 2, so I just like to see good ratings for it.
You have a shirt
But-
over it, I can clearly know.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly, I've got a shirt for it. I'm not gonna lie, some people might be coming for you in the comments.
That's fine.
So I guess what do you...
And listen, if you
I
post
guess
shit about me, we can use your content for our content again.
that's true. What do you think is better about Episode 2 than this movie? Like, to you?
To me. Okay. I think the soundtracks are better.
I agree.
And two-
I actually agree with that. You guys can come for me too on that one. I think Attack of the Clones has a better soundtrack than this movie.
Yeah, suck it. No.
In my personal opinion, in our personal opinions, I just like Across the Stars more, and other songs like that. But see, it's interesting because like the next movie, I think they realized that there have to be more like full scale conflicts because like you do have the attack on the Death Star in this movie, and that feels pretty big, but that's like the only actual like war scale fight of this movie, and I think they quickly realized that, and so the next movie, Empire Strikes Back, opens up with a ground battle. So I think, so we'll definitely have more to talk about with that one in the next episode. But I think what really attracts people to this one is just how simple it is. The last scene is literally just Luke and Han get medals after blowing up the bad guys. And it's just a movie that's easy to watch. I think you don't really need to be a huge Star Wars fan to watch this movie, and I think that's what made it so iconic. Is that you don't really need to understand a whole lot to watch A New Hope.
Like this one has like less politics than the first one, right?
Oh yeah, for sure.
So I can see why people are a lot more understanding of this one.
You know, it's kind of it's really like the first like blockbuster action movie. In a way, you know what I mean? Like, it's the first movie that you can just, like, kind of turn your brain off to, and...
Not pay attention at all, no.
Well, I mean, you can... That's not what I meant, you know, but, like, obviously, like, it's not gonna be, like, realistic, you know, so you don't have to, like, be like, oh, physics don't work that way, you know, but I think it's just a fun, simple movie that really almost anybody can enjoy. I don't think you have to be a super big Star Wars fan to watch this one, because it doesn't get into, like, the specifics of Star Wars, and obviously like I love Star Wars, so I like getting into the specifics of it, and that's one reason why I love the prequels so much. But I think for this one it made a good choice of not diving too much into all that first. It kept it simple. Alright, so that's everything, I think. So I really enjoyed this one. I'm really looking forward to watching Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, because after that it's going to be a while before we watch a good Star Wars movie again. Alright, so if you guys enjoyed the video, be sure to leave a like, a comment, and subscribe to the channel. And we'll see you guys next time with The Empire Strikes Back.
Peace!
That shook
I have
the
to do
table.
that every time.
That shook the table, like, in the mic.